Hello, today we will see some examples on identity and equality properties. But before that, I want to mention one property that I forgot to mention in one of the previous videos, and this is the multiplicative inverse property. So, this property means that if you multiply x times 1 over x, you will always get 1. But you must make sure that this is x and this is x as well, and this has to be 1. So this has to be exactly like this in order for it equal to 1. Of course, you now know, because of the commutative property, you could also have 1 over x times x, and that is also equal to 1. So either one of these is true, so just let's see one quick example. So 1/2 times 2, since 2 and 2 are equal, this is actually just equal to 1. And we actually saw that in one of the previous videos. And so this is true. It does equal to 1. So now let's look at one example. So we must evaluate the following expression using all the properties we know. So also something that I would like to mention is that you must keep in mind PEMDAS. In case you don't know, this is the order of operations. This is what you should do before and then what you should do after. So you must go through this list from left to right and just go through all the elements in the list that contain those characteristics. So for example, at the beginning we have parentheses. We do see one parenthesis here, and so we must substitute, so use the substitution property to, instead of having this parenthesis, substitute it with the value that it represents. However, we must first also do calculate whatever is inside the parentheses, and it's not just like 2 minus 4. We have 4 times 1/2. And knowing our PEMDAS, before subtracting, we must multiply or divide. So 4 times 1/2, and we know that to be 2. And now we have 2 minus 2, and we know that to be 0. So we can substitute that into the whole expression. So 14 plus 3 times 0 plus 7 times 1/7. So here, let me say that we used substitution to go from this step to the next one. Substitution. No. And from here to here, we also used substitution. Very well now. Now, going again through our PEMDAS, we have no more parentheses, no exponents, but we do have either multiplication or division, so we must go from left to right. And so our next step is to multiply 3 times 0, and we know that to be 0. That is the multiplicative property of 0. Multiplicative property of 0. In case you didn't know, if you multiply anything times 0, you get 0 back. So even negative 149 times 0 is equal to 0. 1,000 times 0 is equal to 0. So that is a property that 0 has when multiplying itself with anything else, even with itself, of course. And so we, of course, do use the multiplicative property and also substitution. And now here we can substitute 7 times 1/7 with the multiplicative inverse that I mentioned at the beginning. So as you can see, you have x times 1 over x. In this case, x is equal to 7. And so we know this to be 1. So we use multiplicative inverse. And now we just add. We can first see that 14 plus 0 is actually the identity property of addition. And so we know that it's actually just equal to 14 as we saw in the previous videos. So we have 14 instead of 14 plus 0 and then plus 1, and this is equal to 15.